my cold hands on Enrique's neck as a starting technique. One of my students or somebody, again, left air conditioning on overnight. So it was cold here.
Might have been me. We're not sure.
We're not sure yet. So guys, we're going to dive right into it. There's a lot of questions. And again, the live questions get priority. So start asking away. Today's initial topic is going to be triangles. As you may know, the BJJ Fanatics Triangle video, DVD or whatever it's called, came out, what, 2 days ago? 5 days? DVD. Well, DVD, physical DVD, whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of topics covered. I believe, I haven't seen it, but yeah, because I'd be picking it apart. Anyways, there's over 3 hours of content, I believe. Somebody chime in who's seen it. And there's some questions. I'm not quite sure if they're for people that have seen it and have follow-up questions. I haven't seen it. But one of the big questions is, that's general for triangling, is, Fox, how do you deal with being stacked? So this is almost a two-part answer. The first part is the way I do my triangles is, again, I hold my shin and I cut the angle to be about 45 degrees. So it's going to be very difficult for Enrique to stack me. All right? So it's not impossible. And I curl up, so rather than pushing him away, which allows him to posture up, I'm bringing him in. So stacking becomes difficult. It's not impossible. So I've seen this defense. It's been done to me. They just keep stacking. How did that stacking work out for him? Well, why don't we just ask him? How did the stacking work for you?
Good. I went over your body.
So, guys, if the problem could be if you're lined up, and again, if you have the DVD or you've seen any of my YouTube or Facebook or whatever videos, I advocate not being lined up. You need to be at an angle. That's point number one. Point number two is holding on to your shin throughout the whole process. And what happens is stacking is possible, but you need to prepare your neck for that. Because if the harder he stacks, the more likely he's going to go over. All you got to do is just kind of adjust your feet so you don't kind of get creamed when you land on top. But basically, you see how that happened. Basically, I don't change anything. I just go through it, and I wind up choking and mounted. It happened time after time again. I've seen that defense. A lot of times it happens in seminars. Well, how do you deal with this? And I just basically, on autopilot, this is what I do. And again, the guys wind up in being mounted and still being choked, probably harder because they're underneath, so gravity kicks in as well. One thing you got to do is prepare your neck and your body for the roll. If you lined up and you get stacked, of course your neck is going to be creamed and you have to release, and at that point it's too late. You got to get your guard past, your neck might already be tweaked. You have to, that 45-degree angle roughly, and now what we're going to go over is look at the way I turn my head, so to protect the neck through the process, all right? So let's try to go real slow. So as I'm doing this, I'm trying to cut the angle towards my right side. As this is happening, so I'm going to turn my head towards the underhook. Now, if he's standing, I would go under his leg. But let's say we initially start out with under the arm and we don't have time. So I'm going to move my head closer to the underhook, but I'm looking towards the triangle lockup. And I just go over. When we land, the submission is there, very, very, very strong. So again, I'm not a fan of this defense. Just because when you land, that triangle becomes extremely brutal. And sometimes people on the bottom just tend to panic and not prepare their body the way it's lined up, and most importantly, their head for that roll. So just keep pulling him in, guys. If he goes over, that's his problem, not yours. All right, let's go over it again, very slow again. So I want to describe sort of some of the issues here. So again, I grab my shin, I cut the angle, and then normally I'm kind of looking at his ear. But now watch, I move my head closer to the underhook to my right side, but I look to my left. Now, as he's going over, I kind of straighten out my ankles to make sure. Just in case, make sure when you 45-degree angle, your feet should be off his back. They're to the side of his back. So as he rolls and lands, they should land next to him. So they should not be underneath him, you know, where that could hurt him or could hurt you, you know, with the feet underneath his back. Do we have any follow-up questions? Because this seems to be a fairly common question for people asking about triangling, you know. I think the number one escape from triangles is the posture. However, this I've seen before, and usually it's very easy to counter as long as you know what you're doing, which I like to think I do.
Ryan D'Souza is asking, does this stacking defense work in other positions, for example, close guard, or is it specific to triangles?
This is specific to triangles. When I get stacked in the guard, like for example, it's a good question. You probably should go, by the way, guys, Adolfo Ferranda, I believe he continues to update the Google Docs, which has all the videos I think I've done, whether it's Roll with the Fox, what I've done with Firas, by technique. So again, thank you, Adolfo, and it's a really good tool. I've sent it out to people. I don't even want to, guys, I can't find it myself. It's on episode 50 of Antivirus Edition. That's the daily edition. I can't find it, and people complain that they're not getting notifications when we're live. I believe you have to be subscribed, number one, and I believe you have to have the app to get the most out of this. I downloaded the app, I hated it, and I'm using the browser for YouTube, so
you don't get notifications.
I don't get notifications. I
You
don't
click
think I'm
the bell for
subscribed. Am I
notifications.
subscribed to my own channel? Is that possible? So, let's back up. When you get stacked, guys, in any position, your head positioning is very important. It's like one of the biggest things you could possibly do to protect yourself. I want to go over a couple of quick things. I want to return to the triangle theme. But so Enrique does double under, gets really deep. So as I'm doing this, look again what I'm doing with my head. So as he's pushing forward, I'm going to bounce and turn. And now, I'd rather be on turtle. No, it's not going to happen. Not today, grasshopper. So again, I turn my head to protect my neck. It's very important, guys. One of the drills that you need to do, especially if you're a relatively beginner to jiu-jitsu, so you know maybe you can reach, but let me turn. So as you get stacked, turn your head. Turn your head. Turn your head. So that's a very important point in getting stacked. Another one is when you slap on an armbar, and I'm gonna go with the traditional armbar. So armbarring Enrique from the guard. So normally, you know, I can just do it without bringing the, but I bring the leg over and Enrique starts to stack me. So again, look at my head. Look what I'm doing with my head. This is very important so I'm not feeling the stack. Now, one of two things. Right now, Enrique is not quite blocking my hips, so I can do things. If he puts up his leg to block my hips, I can weave my arm under and start to come out. But again, now once I come out the back way, the arm bar is still on. The other possibility is, and guys, again, this will be on, it's certainly on my armbar video in DVD with BJJ Fanatics. but it's also in you know, at least pieces of it in anything that had to do with armbar getting stacked. The other possibility is sometimes the guys just do such a good job, so I can't weave. So they stack me, I cannot invert, and in that case, I will go under his foot and just arch. But again, look at my head positioning. All right? So my head positioning is always, in a way, try to do it in a way that protects your neck. This is one of the reasons why drilling or flow rolling is so important. When you lower the intensity, usually when the guy's about to stack you, whether it's double under or armbar or triangle, people, you know, it's like once the neck is like compromised, people freeze, and that's probably the worst thing that could happen, because, you know, they freeze in a bad position, and if the guy pushes forward, that can cause you, you know, the neck to be tweaked. So you got to practice turning your head, and it's got to be in the correct direction. If you go the wrong direction, if you go slow enough, you'll know, like, oh crap, this hurts more, I got to go the other way. So yeah, the head position is extremely important. I'd like to come back to the triangle stacking. Do we have any follow-up questions on that particular sequence?
Related to the triangle, Adolfo is asking, Fox, I tend to lose the triangle when I'm holding my shin and the guy twists in one direction and pulls back and then he slips his head out.
I think I know what you're doing wrong, Adolfo. Again, guys, there's certain elements to the way I triangle people. The angle, hold the shin, pull your knees to your chest, okay, curl up. The angle being sort of the finishing touch first, about broken posture. So that's broken posture, and, you know, sort of setting it up is the number one. The single biggest reason why people twist out, it's a fairly common escape, and I you know, I think this is what you might be doing with Adolfo. So when you're triangling people, right, so you set it up and you push. Yeah. So at some point when his angle gets cut so much, yeah, so first of all, the fact that I'm holding my shin and kind of bracing his head towards my right, to his left, prevents him from doing this so much. But it's not impossible. All you need to turn is turn his body more, and it's going to happen. Your leg's going to pop open, and then you're scrambling, or possibly bottom side control. So, no, I'm going to, let me rep some triangles. Yeah, do it. Can you guys tell me what I did differently? And this is very, very common mistake. I believe, Adolfo, that's what you're doing.
He said exactly.
Okay. So can you guys tell me what the difference between the first way, which I did, I think, twice, and the second, my way? Because if you don't, in about a few seconds, I will tell you.
Ivara says, move hips.
I moved with him, but because he moves me, I don't move. The big, yeah,
Ryan said you pulled instead of pushing away.
bingo. This is one of the most common mistakes people make with triangles. So when they lock it up, even if they have the hand on the shin and try to cut the angle, and they push away. Look at the size of this hole. This is what I want. Pull my knees in and then squeeze my thighs together. I believe this hole is significantly smaller. Now, if you actually calculated this square footage area, you're talking about half, maybe even less than half. Imagine that, you know, that's the constriction area. The smaller the constriction area, the easier it is going to be to put him away. So that's number one. Number two, when you're pushing him away, your body is stretched out, and it allows him to twist. And when he twists, your legs start to pop open. So again, very, very common mistake is to do this. Don't do this. bring him in, bring him in, bring him in, and keep cutting the angle. You will not be twisted out of a triangle again. Down to 5 minutes. I still want to cover the triangle.
We don't have enough time. We're done. That's it for today.
That's it for today, guys. All right, so let's move on to the triangle. So, guys, again, in the DVD, we go over regular triangles, which most of you are familiar with. Reverse, which basically I just reverse the legs. Inverted, which is different body. Invert your body. And ugly. There's a couple ugly triangles which don't necessarily cause the best constriction, but they're extremely good for control and allow you, just like every other triangle does, simultaneous submissions. So one of them we call triangle, and it's basically this. You've seen this before. So when I'm passing guard and the guy is kind of trying to turn to me and being balled up, I go under his head and under his leg. Once I connect my hands, this is now it's going to be difficult for him to stretch out his leg. So now what I'm going to do is I bring my leg up. And now I just go, I don't care if he rolls me, if he comes with me, it doesn't matter which direction. Okay, this is the direction you chose, right? So now I lock it up. Guys, even if it's a diamond, you could see the pure misery. I got his arm, I got his leg. Usually it's the guy's face that serves as the fulcrum. So this is the triangle. You want anything more in depth? Buy the DVD. Because I don't want to torture him too much. He did not stretch. He was playing with his phone before. So what Mike or Enrique do in response to the threat of the triangle, and I want you to understand, again, guys, anytime you threaten a viable submission, people respond. They respond by moving in either response to pain or in response anticipation of what's coming. So my guys now know that once I do this, this is coming. So what they do is they straighten out their legs, and voila, I have an easy guard pass. So let's look at it again from a different angle. So again, when people fear the triangle coming, it's misery. If you've ever been caught in it, it is truly misery. And it's not just misery, but it makes you feel bad. That's why we call it triangle, because it's like, what the hell just happened? So when the guy, this is a pretty good guard position. I'm tight, so I want to make sure that he can go into sort of reverse de la Hiva, leg entries, and so forth. So I see him balled up. I'm kind of like trying, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under his leg and under his head. As soon as I start to threaten this, they basically step out. They basically straighten out their leg to do anything other than being caught in triangle. So I want to make sure you guys understand that you may not be able to do triangle, but if you threaten that, you're going to get an easy guard pass. Basically, all the guard pass defense just is completely, here's the gates wide open. Come in, get the guard pass, because if you, the alternative is way worse. And by the way, you don't have to have super long legs. All you need to do is cross your ankles. And the guy's balled up. It's very difficult to just kind of open that up anyways, even if you just cross your ankles in a sort of diamond fashion.
Derwin is asking, does it work holding the other leg?
No. What do you mean?
Like free leg. Fit your own shin. Help you, but my leg, the other leg.
I don't know why you would hold the other leg. I don't need the other leg. At some point, basically what the triangle has, it has your arm, his arm, his head, and his leg. And that's enough. I don't need any more limbs in there. I want to basically keep him balled up in a way that basically he cannot arch out of it. I can take my sweet time to, attack the arm, possibly attack the neck, What a lot of times happens is when people are caught in it, but before you lock it up, when they try to arch out, they usually open up the knee bar.
And Michael is asking the whole time, this is previous for the triangle, the whole time he is stacking you, are you keeping your knees to your chest? If he's able to straighten out your spine, does this put all the stacking pressure on the C-spine?
Yes, I basically, once I lock up a triangle, a lot of times I will lock up a triangle from split guards. So, we're sort of, I stretch them out. Once I lock it up, notice how, as soon as I lock it up, so as I lock it up and grab my shin, and now I'm going to curl up. And now, if it's straighten out he can't straighten out my back. It's not going to happen. And usually, my lower back, I've had issues decades. So right now, he can't straighten me out. I know Enrique's not necessarily the biggest guy, but he's pretty strong. And I keep fighting for the angle. I just keep fighting for the angle. And I've been telling students to do this for years, and some of my high belts still to this day, they don't, when they get to this position, grab their shin, walk up a crappy one, and then try to do this. Go ahead, yeah, you can escape. Yeah, this is not a good stat. Once that hand is on the shin, it stays on the shin, and I just cut the key. So once I lock it up, I stay on the shin, because my right hand, in this case, the way I'm triangling, my right hand is the one, my right arm is the one that basically fights for the angle. So if I'm not happy with this angle, so I keep fighting for the angle to my right, and keep pulling my knees to my chest. It just, so I make the decision to, to basically curl up and stay there. The hand on the shin can also serve to push his head deeper into the choke while it's keeping his posture broken and keeping me at the angle. Because if I start to jam use my both hands to jam his head deeper into the triangle, you intuitively, your body just responds that way. You line up from 45 degrees back to lined up, and this is where the guys have the most opportunities to escape, whether they posture out, pick you up, slam you. So I want to be in that angle. So, but don't forget, I can use it as a way to pull in. But if you start, I can kind of manipulate a little bit as a frame. But I've had issues. I have bad posture, but I've had issues with my back since I was a kid. But this does not pose any issues for me. Quite contrary, I'm very comfortable there.
And one last question. Lots of peers asking, for the triangle, can you show if he rolls in the other direction? Sorry, Enrique.
Oh, it's the same thing. So this is a triangle, this is diamond. Same thing. It's exactly the same thing. You basically wind up in exactly the same position. And just like that, we're out of time. Guys, keep the questions coming. Like, share, subscribe.
Tell your friend, your training partner, your wife, your kids.
And guys, I always appreciate reviews. I know I've gotten a ton of private messages, and I really appreciate them. It's actually even better if you if you don't feel comfortable putting some of the stuff that you send me in a private message, you don't have to. You can make it more general or politically correct or whatever you want to do on the BJJ Fanatics, and others can see also what this helped you with, and perhaps they can sort of see if that DVD is appropriate for them. I'll see you guys next week. Yes, Mike.
And be sure to check out the new instructional Mastering Triangles, now available on BJJ Fanatics.
Yes.